Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Have you ever found yourself falling silent? Not because there was no sound, but because what you were seeing was too honest to ignore? The preview of Is This Right? Season 2, Episodes 7 to 8 on Disney Plus doesn't arrive with an emotional explosion. It comes like a slow pulse, creeping into your chest, then settling there. No big dialogue, no dramatic scenes. And precisely because of that, everything feels more real and far more dangerous. In these final 2 episodes, Jimin and Jungkook don't try to convince anyone of anything. They simply exist, sharing space, time, and silence. And when they fall quiet, the camera speaks. When the camera is allowed to be honest, the fandom knows. There is something between them that has never truly changed. So the question is no longer, what are they doing? But rather, what are we witnessing? Let's go deeper into the small moments that are too intimate to be called coincidence and too sincere to be labeled as mere variety show antics. These previews from episodes 7 to 8 feel like an emotional confession never spoken aloud, yet impossible to ignore. Refined by Jim Carsaw's bold touch, these final episodes are not simply a season finale. They are a quiet space where honesty is finally allowed to breathe. There is no grand dialogue, no scenes forcing us to feel something. And that is exactly why these moments are so dangerous. Because when Jimin and Jungkook are silent, the camera speaks. And when the camera is allowed to be honest, uninterrupted, unsteered, the fandom knows. There is something between them that has never truly changed. Within these 2 episodes, Jimin and Jungkook once again do the very thing that makes fans' hearts tremble the most. They share space, time, and silence in a way that is far too intimate to be coincidence. A gaze that lingers 1 second longer than it should. A distance that is almost non-existent. Body language that isn't defensive. And small moments that feel far too real to be dismissed as fan service. These previews leave one question echoing throughout the fandom, over and over, increasingly impossible to brush aside. Is this still just a variety show, or are we witnessing something far more personal? There is one scene that immediately became the center of discussion, and at the same time, the center of silence. Jikook entered the same room to change into their spa clothes. The same room. No awkward pause. No exaggerated reaction. No need to explain anything. And that is exactly where everything begins. To some, this may seem bold or unusual. But for Jimin and Jungkook, the scene feels so natural it almost goes unnoticed. As if sharing space, even in the most personal situations, has long been part of their daily rhythm. There is no distance that needs to be maintained, because that distance has been gone for a long time. We often forget that the greatest honesty doesn't come from moments deliberately highlighted. It is born instead from what the people involved consider ordinary. Because that's where there is no pretense. No roles to play. What remains is habit, comfort, and a sense of safety, something that can only grow when 2 people truly know each other, down to the deepest layers. And from that point on, the smallest details begin to speak. There is one moment that often slips past discussion, even though its impact is so strong. When Jungkook points at Jimin and, in a light tone, says, "The handsome man with glasses." Not exaggerated. Not theatrical. Just one short sentence, spoken like a fact not worth debating. What makes it significant isn't just the words, but the way Jungkook says them. This isn't a compliment directed at the camera. It isn't a comment seeking a reaction. It sounds like a thought that simply slipped out, honest, spontaneous, unfiltered. As if, in Jungkook's eyes, Jimin has always looked that way, handsome, calming, and special. Not because of that particular day. Not because of the show's concept. But because that is how Jimin exists in his life. Then there is another line, simpler, yet striking far deeper. This is only fun if Hyung is the one asking. At first glance, it seems light, almost easy to miss. But when looked at closely, its meaning goes far beyond the game they are playing. He doesn't say, "It's fun if someone asks." He doesn't say, "It's fun if you ask." He says, "Hyung," with sparkling eyes, with a gentle tone, with the expression of someone who truly enjoys being in front of one specific person. There is a calm emotional reliance there. Not a fragile dependency, but a form of trust. As if Jungkook is saying without words, "I'm most comfortable when you lead this moment. I want this to happen with you." And the way he looks at Jimin as he says it, that is the hardest part to ignore. That gaze is too bright, too alive, too full of feeling. When they play the word-guessing game, Jungkook looks different. Lighter, more open, as if the weight of the world has been set aside for a moment. He laughs freely, not a controlled laugh, not a polite one. A long, breathless laugh. The kind that makes him bend over, clutch his stomach, genuinely enjoying the moment. And every time he laughs, his eyes always find their way back to Jimin. It's a reflex. Unscripted. Unconscious. Like a compass that always points in one direction. That day is fun, but not because of the game. Not because of the show's format. That day is fun because Jimin is there. Because his favorite person is sitting close by. Because every response from Jimin, a small smile, a soft voice, the way he asks questions, becomes a source of simple yet very real happiness. Then comes a moment that almost feels unbelievable at first glance. Jungkook fully submerges himself in the water, only to slip his head between Jimin's thighs and lift him up. There is no hesitation. No checking the situation. The movement is done with complete confidence. Confidence that Jimin will allow it. That Jimin trusts him. That their bodies are already accustomed to this kind of closeness. This is not just a physical action. It is another language of intimacy. A language that can only be used when two people truly feel safe with each other. When touch doesn't need verbal permission, because that permission has existed for a long time, built through years of togetherness, small acts of care, and consistent presence. What makes this moment even more emotional is one thing. Jungkook seems unaware of how open he is. His face is like a book without a cover. Every time he looks at Jimin, there is a softness he cannot hide. That gaze is different from the way he looks at the world. Slower, warmer, as if time itself slows whenever Jimin enters his frame of view. A small smile always appears without him realizing it. Not a wide smile, but one full of meaning. A smile not meant for anyone else but Jimin. He may not know it, or he may not be fully aware of it. But that affection shines so clearly it feels impossible to misinterpret. He doesn't even need to say it. His face already explains everything. This is where the true beauty of Jikook lies. Not in grand confessions. Not in dramatic moments. But in small habits that are too honest to be fabricated. In Jungkook's laughter that always returns in one direction. In his gaze that unconsciously searches for Jimin. In touches that happen naturally, without hesitation, without verbal permission. Because that sense of safety has existed for a long time. This is not a story about something being forced to look romantic. This is a story about two people who are so comfortable with each other. That love no longer needs to be proven. Because it already lives in every small detail they share together. And if you truly pay attention, one thing becomes very clear. This is not just togetherness. This is home. Thank you for staying with us until the end of Jikook Moments. If you felt the same way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Because sometimes, silence is what we most want to talk about together. See you in the next moment.